All right, so overall, you guys said you were pretty good on today's homework. I'll come back and get it in a minute. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Alrighty, so I really like what we're doing today. We are going to be talking today about solving radical equations, and then we'll do inequalities tomorrow, and then we will review sections 5.3 and 5.4 on Thursday. So that's where we're headed for the rest of the week. Okay, so we are going to be solving a radical equation. A radical equation is an equation that contains a variable underneath the radical sign. So 2 times the square root of x plus 1 equals 4. All right. And it says, step 1, isolate the radical on one side of the equation if you can. If you can. Okay, so if you only have one radical, get the radical on one side, get everything else to the other side. That's step 1. Step 2, raise each side of the equation to the same exponent to eliminate the radical to get either a linear, quadratic, or other polynomial equation. Solve. This is huge. Check your solution. Okay? There are extraneous solutions that are created. We've had extraneous solutions before, haven't we? Yes or no? Yeah? Where a solution is created through solving, but when you go back and check it, it doesn't work. I thought we had them with absolute value. Yeah. Okay, so absolute value, you can have extraneous. Rational equations, you can have extraneous. And radical equations, you can have extraneous. Those are the 3 we have this year. So let's just go ahead and let's get started. So first one, we need to isolate this radical. So Cash, what are you going to do to isolate this radical? Divide both sides by 2. He's like, I got to get that radical by itself. I'm going to divide both sides by 2. So when you divide by 2, what do you get? Okay. Everybody good so far? Cash, how do you think you undo square root? Square. So the opposite operation of square root is square. Whatever you do to one side, you do to the other. Now over here, these cancel and you're left with what? X plus 1. And what's 2 squared? Subtract 1. And what do you get? X equals 3. Now, before I circle my answer, I do need to come over and check it. So I'm going to do a quick check. 2 times the square root of 3 plus 1. Does that equal 4? Well, what's 3 plus 1? 4. And what's the square root of 4? And what's 2 times 2? Does that equal 4? Yeah. So your left side equals your right side. We're good. We can come and box in this answer. You'll see in a few minutes. Of course, the first ones aren't going to have extraneous solutions, but as we get into some of the more difficult ones, we will have extraneous solutions. Are you guys good on A? Yes, sir. Yes. Okay. Let's take a look at B. What am I going to do, Justin, to solve B? Isolate that radical. Get the radical by itself.
Add 1.
Add 1. You're absolutely right. Add 1. And when you do, what do you have left?
Keep your 2x minus 9.
Is equal to what? 3. Now what are you going to do? How do you think you undo cubed root?
Cube both sides.
Cube both sides. Whatever you do to one side, you got to do to the other. What happens to cube and cube root?
2x.
Yep.
2x minus 9.
And what's 3 to the third?
It's 27.
27. You got it. Keep going.
Add 9.
Add 9. What do do you get when you add 9?
36.
And now what?
5 by 2.
And what do you get when you divide by 2?
18.
X is 18. Everybody okay with what Josh did? Justin did. I've had to land this either in Algebra 1 or Honors Algebra 2 for like every single year forever. Okay, so now plug it back in. Cube root of 2 times 18 minus 9 minus 1. Does that equal 2? What's 2 times 18, everybody? And what's 36 minus 9? 27. Okay, what's the cube root of 27? What's 3 minus 1? Did that work? Yeah. Okay. Again, these are all going to work at the beginning. You'll see where we have our extraneous solutions in a few. Good so far. What do you guys think? Easy. Okay, I like this stuff. I like teaching it. I like doing it. The mean sustained wind velocity in meters per second of a hurricane is modeled by V of P equals 6.3 square root of 1013 minus P, where P is the air pressure at the center of the hurricane. Estimate the air pressure at the center of the hurricane when the mean sustained wind velocity is 54.5. Where's the 54.5 go? In the V of P. So we're going to come over here and say 54.5, that's the velocity, is equal to 6.3 square root of, and we want to solve this for P. So we do the same thing. We're just going to need to grab a calculator. So now I have Josh. And Josh, what are you going to do to solve this one? Divide by 6.3. So when you divide 54.5 by 6.3, what do you get? 8.65 approximately. Good. I'm going to just write 8.65, but leave that on my calculator. What are you going to do now?
Square.
Now, guys, when you square this, I want to square this answer. So just hit the squared button and notice it squares that whole answer, not just 8.65. And when you do, what do you get? 74.84. What do you do now? Subtract 1013. Again, I'm going to subtract 1013 from that answer. I got negative 938.16 equals negative P. So what does P equal? 938.16 millibars are the units for wind velocity. So they just tried to give you a word problem, but really we're just doing what we just did. You could check it. It works. Are we good there? We're actually only going to do 2 more, so we're not going to do part C. And then you guys can start your homework. All right. You guys ready?
Yeah.
Is there anything I can do to the right side of that equation?
No.
No. So any guesses on what I'm going to do to start? Square. But remember, when you square it, you got to square this whole side and this whole side. When you square the left side, what do I have to do with x plus 1? FOIL. You guys remember, this means x plus 1 times x plus 1, and then those cancel. So help me FOIL. When you FOIL, Caden, what do you get? X squared plus 1x plus 1x is 2x, and then she said plus 1. Now, her equation is now quadratic instead of linear. So we're going to bring everything over to one side. What do you want to do to bring it over to one side?
Subtract 15.
And
7x.
subtract 7x, subtract 15. And when you do, what do you have left?
Minus 5x minus 14.
Equals 0. Okay. At this point, we have options. It's quadratic. Factor, complete the square, quadratic formula. A is 1. Life is easy. Laura, I'm going to try to factor it. What question are you going to ask yourself? What's your sign?
Oh, -5.
So what multiplies to give you negative 14? That adds to give you negative 5.
Oh. No. Yes, -7, 2.
Negative 7 and positive 2. So you're going to write this x
-7.
and
X plus 2.
equals.
0.
Now, remember the rule was when you have this times this equal to 0, you set them each equal to 0. Most of you will skip that step and just come down and tell me x is either equal to what? Or negative 2. Now, don't circle your answers yet because we got to check them. Is everybody okay with just how I solved this? All right, when you check, you always check back in the original problem. So I'm going to go all the way back here, and the first one I'm going to check is x equals 7. So I have 7 plus 1. Does that equal the square root of 7? I'm sorry, yeah, 7 times 7 plus 15. Okay, what's 7 plus 1? 8. What's 7 plus 7? I'm sorry, 7 times 7?
49.
49. What's 49 plus 15? What's the square root of 64? Does 8 equal 8? So did 7 work? Yes. Now we have to check negative 2. All right. We want negative 2 plus 1. Does that equal the square root of 7 times negative 2 plus 15? What is negative 2 plus 1? Negative 1. What's 7 times negative 2? Plus 15. Now, this is where I always get people say, but. Okay, you did not take the square root. This square root sign was given to you. So they are implying which root? The positive one, right? If they wanted the negative root, they would have had to put a negative in front of there. They don't have a negative in front of there. So what's the square root of 1? 1. Does 1 equal negative 1? That's you. I always have people come up and ask me this, and I will not answer it during the test because we're going to have it a whole lot before then. So once again, when you have the square root of 1, you say, but I can have plus or minus. I'm like, no, because you are not taking the square root. Square root is given to you. They're implying principal root. So that means just 1. So this is an extraneous solution. The only solution we have is 7. Negative 2 does not work. Some racing going on. Questions? All right, let's try another one. Very similar. Drew, what are we going to do first?
Square root.
Not square root, but I'm not taking the square root.
Oh, square.
Square. I'm going to square this side, and I'm going to square that side.
Yeah.
So when you do, these cancel, you're left with.
2x plus 7.
And over here, you have to what?
Foil.
FOIL.
X squared minus 8x plus 16.
Bring this down. What are you going to do now?
Subtract 2x and 7.
Subtract 2x and 7. When you do, what do you have left?
X squared minus 10x plus 9.
Good. Karina. Hi. question you going to ask yourself now? Multiplies to give you 9, adds to give you -10. What is it?
1 and -10. Wait, no, -1 and 10.
Multiplies to give you 9.
Oh, wait. What?
Multiplies to give you 9.
Oh, -10 and 1. Wait, no, -9 and 1.
-9 and -1.
Oh.
Right? Has to multiply to give you positive, adds to give you -10. You know what's so funny is sometimes when it's 1 in the factor, you guys just go. All right. So now, Karina, what do we have as a factor?
Hold on, give me a second. X minus 9 and then X minus 1.
X minus 9 and X minus 1. So when you set each of those equal to 0, what are your answers?
X equals 9 and then X equals 1.
Okay. Is everybody good so far?
Yeah.
What do we have to do every time we have a root? Plug it in and check it. So let's check X equals 9 in the original problem. So I have 2 times 9 plus 7 under the radical. And then I have 9 minus 4. What's 2 times 9, everybody? 18 plus 7? 25. This is just 5. What's the square root of 25? Does that one work? Okay, now let's check 1. That's not 0.1, that should be 1. Square root of 2 times 1 plus 7. Does that equal 1 minus 4? What's 2 times 1 plus 7? 9. Over here we have, what is the square root of 9 when the square root is given to you? Does 3 equal -3? Now, the only one I did not give you an example of, if, just look up here one second because there's one like this on your homework. If the problem looks like this, now this, okay, what would you guys do? Square, what happens when you square both sides? X plus 2 equals, yeah, nope, those go away. AJ, you don't have to FOIL anything. They just go away. And you're left with what's under the radical equals what's under the radical. Okay? All right, so you guys have the rest of class time to work on this. Whoa, whoa.